Morning, everyone. I didn't get to a second video yesterday. As I said, it was my wife's birthday over the weekend, so we had people over and it was fun, and we had a little party, so it was good. I wanted to show you this Maxime Bernier Twitter roundup, and it's election day, everybody. Today is the 25th, so today is the day. 3 by-elections wrapping up, and Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson is either going to be elected or going to not be elected today. And we'll see how the Liberals are faring, and we'll see how the Conservatives are faring, and we'll see if the NDP have a leader after tonight. It's going to be a interesting day. So here's Mr. Bernier on what he thinks the outcome of this will be. Here we go.
How good do you think Laura Lynn's chances are on Monday? And if she doesn't win, if she comes in third,
She will win.
But if she doesn't, if she comes in third or fourth, what does that mean for your party?
You know, it will be a big win because she's gonna win, and you know, not only her, but we have great candidate also in Outremont and in York Simcoe. So just wait and see. People were telling us, you know, you won't be able to be ready, you won't be able to have riding association, you won't be able to have great candidate for the by-election, and that's not true. She is great, she's good, she's gonna win, and that will send a strong message all across the country that the People's Party is there, ready to work for the people, and you know, that will show other traditional old politicians that the way they're doing politics, Canadians are fed up with that. I think they want a real change, and our candidates represent that real change. I'm very optimistic that Monday night that will be our night.
Well, I hope Mr. Bernier is correct, and I'm very interested to see how this turns out. Here's a Rebel Media interview. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, everyone. Rebel Media interview with Laura Lynn and with Mr. Bernier. It's a good interview. I'm not going to show any of it for copyright purposes, etc. So please check it out. The link is in the description. They talk about a wide range. They talk about everything, and they're no holds barred. They talk plainly about their policies, about what they think the policies are going to do, what they hope the policies are going to do, and the reasons behind them. And they talk about immigration, and they talk about all sorts of stuff, trade. It's refreshing to hear politicians discuss actual hard policy and policy that makes sound sense and they aren't trying to tap dance around something. You know, they're not trying to clarify that the problem isn't that SNC-Lavalin had the laws changed for them. The problem is Justin Trudeau put pressure on the AG. No, the problem is SNC-Lavalin is big enough to put pressure and have laws changed and have a criminal charge kicked down the road for 5 years while they're having those criminal laws changed. Wild. Anyway, back to Mr. Bernier and Burnaby South. PPC HQ is retweeted by Mr. Bernier, and they say, quote, Burnaby South will surprise Canada by electing People's Party candidate, Bernier says. And this is a Burnaby Now newspaper. We're not going to read it. Link is in the description if you want to check it out. But it's basically saying the same thing we just watched Mr. Bernier say. Here is Laura Lynn and Mr. Bernier on the 21st. They were door knocking, and he's been there for a lot of the weekend, making sure that, I don't know, they're seen. He's a very high-profile figure, so he lends a lot of support and credibility to her campaign to be out there door knocking. That's a good thing for the leader to do. So here's Laura Lynn TT, and she says, incredible day of media with PPC party leader Maxime Bernier taking a message of principles, hope, and individual freedom to the nation. 3 more sleeps till the vote. Vote for your values on February 25th. Hashtag Bernier Nation. And there's some pictures here that, you know, there we go. Good crowd, lots of people. Mr. Bernier, lots of people. There you go. Good tweets. Mr. Bernier says, quote, another poll confirms that while 45% of Canadians want lower immigration levels, only 11% want higher. The Trudeau government is increasing the annual immigration from 250 to 350K. They are the radicals. And the People's Party of Canada is the only party not afraid to speak for their majority. And this is a link to the poll from Global Politics, and you can click on the link in the description if you'd like, a link to the tweet, which has the link to the poll. Here's PPC York Simcoe being retweeted by Mr. Bernier, and it says the People's Party of Canada is the only federal party willing to respect the Constitution and lower taxes, resulting in more money in your pocket. Vote Robert Gertz. Sorry, Robert, if I've got your name wrong. For York Simcoe on Monday, February 25th. Hashtag Go Gertz Go. Hashtag PPC 2019. Hashtag Bernier Nation. PPC YorkSimcoe.ca, and you can check it out there as well. Link is in the description. Mr. Bernier says, Number 1. A week after I resigned, I published this article explaining my motives and why I said the CPC was morally and intellectually corrupt. The SNC-Lavalin affair is another proof that I was right. There is no major difference between the libs and cons. Hashtag crony capitalism is the problem. Number 2, to understand my real motives, my critics should read up on, quote, public choice theory, developed by James Buchanan, who won a Nobel Prize for Economics in 1986. It explains how interest groups hijack political debates and capture politicians. 3, winning huge benefits in the form of subsidies, trade protection, fiscal or legal privileges, and other favorable regulations. They're willing to devote enormous lobbying efforts and large amounts of money to get them. This dynamic of concentrated benefits versus dispersed cost explains why we have so many bad policies that are obviously not in the public's interests. Why is it so difficult to reform such policies, and why government keeps growing? Number 5, this is what I've been concerned with for the past 12 years. How to reconcile my desire to serve the public with a political dynamic entirely dominated by pandering and vote-buying strategies. Conservatives play that game as much as liberals. As I said when I resigned, I have come to the conclusion that the CPC cannot be reformed, and that if I want to do politics differently, I need to do it elsewhere. How do I plan to do this? By systemically reversing the dynamic described by public choice theory. Number 7, that is, by taking positions based on principles I believe in, and that accord with what I think is in the public interest, and by resisting pressure from interest groups seeking favors despite short-term political cost. 8, I recognize that it is a risky enterprise, but the payoff for Canadians could be huge. I know many Canadians are fed up with the traditional way of doing politics. We'll see if enough of them are ready to follow me. And here's a few more. Maxime Bernier says, this is so typical of our out-of-touch and out-of-control government. At a time when disabled and sick Canadian veterans cannot get the services they need, these morons in Ottawa are spending $350,000 to send homeopaths to Honduras. And some people were letting me know that I am ill-informed about homeopathy, and maybe so. So there is a lot I don't know about. And I do know that spending $350,000 to train other people in other countries about homeopathic remedies is probably a misuse of our taxpayer dollars. So while I will concede that I don't know enough about homeopathy or anything to that effect, we can all agree, I think, that this is a misuse of Canadian taxpayer dollars. So I will read up on homeopathy or homeopaths and possibly change my mind. Who knows? I'm known to change my mind if new information presents itself. So there we go. Maxime Bernier says again, conservatives in Burnaby South are desperate. They can't ask voters to support their weak candidate or leader. So instead, they ask NDP supporters who want to get rid of their own weak leader to strategically vote for them. Pathetic. All weak choices except strong at Lynn TT. Here's save the NDP, defeat Jagmeet Singh so the NDP can get a new leader. Vote for Jay Shin. Right? That's incredible. Very funny. Very funny. And that's the strategy. So here's the back of the placard. It says, if he loses Burnaby South, it would be extremely difficult for Mr. Singh to stick around. MPs warned Singh in June that he's through as leader if he can't win Burnaby South. Jagmeet Singh will have to step down if he fails to win by the by-election in Burnaby South. So quite interesting strategy. I mean, pick up votes wherever you can, I guess. I don't know. The problem here is the same problem I've had with Mr. Scheer the whole time. If you say vaguely, we'd do it better than they would, and refuse to say how, or refuse to name a plan other than, we're going to close the safe third country loophole by actually talking to the government of the United States to do that, which they don't think the Trudeau government has done. Other than that, I don't see a really big plan. Every time Mr. Scheer steps up with something, the media lambastes him as racist or something like that and says the only real governance is liberal governance, and then he backs down, and it's kind of weird to see. So I don't know. It's weird to have. It's not weird. Mr. Bernier's positions have more bones on them, have more meat on their bones, than the CPC's or the LPC's. The LPC's positions are indefensible. They've spent $1 billion on non-citizens, and they have nothing to show for it other than debt. And the CPC, they can go back to the Harper years, but there's a reason Harper lost. And they're not speaking to how different they are to the Liberal Party. So it's very frustrating in that respect. Whereas the PPC are clearly saying what the voters are telling them. Immigration is a really big problem. Immigration is a huge problem. And not immigration is a problem. We should match the number to the amount of jobs needed because That's what the liberals are telling us they're doing. And it's not slowing anything down. And so a CPC refusing to choose a number on immigration is, in my opinion, a problematic thing for them. And they're kind of middling around in the middle. Every time I've seen the debates, Jay Shin is kind of saying, yeah, we do it better than the liberals. And sometimes he talks about the government is working on that. Like he was talking about abortion and he was saying, the government's working on this. It's complicated, blah, blah, blah. But he's in opposition. He's not in the government. What is going on? Anyway. So it's very strange to have a big by-election run like this with no big public policy pushes from the CPC other than their gang initiatives, right? They're arming police and they're giving police powers to break up gangs, right? I mean, like, in the face of other people dismantling gang databases, etc. It's very weird. Okay, the last couple here. The last one and then a quick article. PPC HQ is tweeting, our candidates, Laura Lynn, Robert, and James are giving other parties a run for their money. We invested $50,000 in these 3 by-elections. Help us raise this amount or more by Sunday evening. So this was on Friday, I think. Yeah. The 22nd. And yeah, everybody's doing fundraising, so everybody's got to do it. And here is the final story here. This is immigrants who support People's Party of Canada reject accusations of xenophobia in Burnaby South. When Ivan Pack went to Maxime Bernier's first rally in Vancouver last November, he says he was, quote, inspired by the new party leader's clear platform and policy commitments. That's the kind of leader Canada needs, he told Star Vancouver. Bernier announced the, quote, death of political correctness via a tweet last fall to his then 65,000 followers and launched the People's Party of Canada, which has been gaining rapid traction. Widely viewed as aiming further right of the Conservative Party, the PPC has been criticized for being anti-immigrant and espousing anti-globalist values and rhetoric. But Pak, a first-generation immigrant from China, dispels those critiques as myth. Quote, some people accuse the PPC of being white People's Party of Canada, but for myself, I learned to speak English here. I've been here 22 years, he said on Thursday, holding up PPC signs, waiting for Bernier to make his first appearance in Burnaby South since Monday's by-election was called in the riding. Quote, PPC welcomes people like me to be part of their party as long as we share the same Canadian values. But experts say, and a link to experts who say it, core Canadian values are now divided and there's very little common ground. Isn't that interesting? I scroll down because this whole part of the article is a very clumsy attempt. There's this, I'm going to read this part, and then there's this part of the article. It's a really clumsy attempt to tie the People's Party to white nationalism and all sorts of ridiculous things. It's really, really silly. And the propaganda push is really heavy here. I'm not going to read it because it's silly. Okay. I'm going to scroll down to here. So its proponents are often hostile towards immigration, deeply pessimistic about the economic future, mostly male and mainly white, he said. At Bernier's event on Thursday in Burnaby South, this demographic was also present. Yeah, white males went to the event, just like Asian males, just like white females, just like Asian females, and probably some Indian females and Indian males. Man, Global, good point. This demographic was also present. My goodness, you ridiculous fake news trash. Okay, Nathaniel Allen, 30, told the Star he was a BC Liberal, the provincial party widely known to embrace conservative policies, 12 years ago until he lost interest. It wasn't until the PPC came along that he found himself civically engaged. Quote, it just felt like the most pragmatic decision I could make, he explained. And I scroll down because this is the clumsy tying to everything that is bad in the media. They're saying, no, yellow vests are bad too. It's morph. Blah, blah, blah. Awful. Okay, here it is. According to Ivan Pack and the PPC, the principles guiding Canadian values are freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. Pack was a vocal opponent of the provincial education inclusion program for sexual identity and gender fluidity. He ran unsuccessfully on that platform for school trustee in Richmond in last fall's municipal election. As president of the PPC Richmond Centre EDA, he isn't eligible to vote in Monday's by-election. The PPC has promised to lower taxes, abolish corporate welfare, and stop supply management. On Thursday, Bernier also said he would privatize Canada Post and abolish the CRTC. The party has formed electoral districts associations, EDAs, in all Canada's 338 ridings, and Bernier has said that he will run a full slate of candidates in October's general election. Pack said he was no longer keen on the Conservatives because the party has a, quote, lack of leadership ability, referring to its leader Andrew Scheer, and no clear platform, no clean platform, he says. He also slammed Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Quote, when you ask a question in the House of Commons, he never answers it. Is the question period just a joke? It looks like a drama, he said. Our country is in debt, and that debt has to be paid somehow. It will be my children and grandchildren suffering. Pack was one of the many other Chinese Canadians greeting Bernier when he visited his Burnaby South by-election candidate and one of his first picks under the new PPC banner, Lynn Thompson. She's a former Christian radio host, anti-abortion activist, and vocal opponent of BC's student education plan on sexual orientation and gender fluidity. With ties to several community churches, Thompson told the Star last week she's been able to mobilize the socially conservative Chinese Canadian vote, and those ties may explain why. During each by-election debate, Thompson directly appealed to prevalent anxieties in the riding about public safety as she repeatedly brought up the case of Marissa Shen, a 13-year-old killed in a Burnaby South park in July 2017. A Syrian refugee has been charged with murder in her death. Meanwhile, several PPC supporters at the event on Thursday told the Star they were, quote, sick of identity politics at play in Canada. Sherolyn Eng said she became a full-fledged PPC supporter after hearing the message about, quote, family values and free speech. And sorry, Madam or Sir, if I've got your name wrong. This is the first time that I've come out for something like this, and I've lived in Canada for 45 years, she said. Madam. Sorry, I've got your name wrong, Madam. Burnaby has 4 district town centers, a long working class history, and a population density triple that of the region. Its demographics are increasingly young and non-white, according to the 2016 census, and the average age is several years below BC's average, while 64% of its population identifies as a visible minority. On Thursday, Bernier argued diversity is not Canada's strength, it's unity. Asked how that message would land in such an ethnically diverse riding, he responded, yeah, but they're all Canadians first. The response prompted cheers from PPC supporters, with several shouting, I'm an immigrant. Thompson, who uttered Canadians first at every by-election debate, will face off against NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, vying for his first seat in the House of Commons, Liberal Richard Lee, Conservative Jay Shin, and Independent Valentine Wu and Terry Grimwood on Monday in Burnaby South. So it's very interesting, the demographics in play, the party, how they're being viewed, the PPC being viewed, excuse me, by first-generation Canadians, by immigrant Canadians, by Lynn TT, and people like me who are born here, not in Vancouver, but born in Canada. It's interesting. We all share similar critiques of the Liberals. They don't answer questions. The Conservatives, they don't have any kind of platform. And our reason for being attracted to Mr. Bernier, no nonsense, straight answers, this is the plan. And while I don't necessarily agree with everything, I mean, batting 100 or 1,000 is difficult to do. There's some things on the edges that I disagree with. It's by far the best platform in my opinion, right? So I find it interesting across all walks of Canadian life, despite this article saying there is no core Canadian value, trying to agree weirdly with Justin Trudeau, the most hated politician in Canada right now. Experts say no core Canadian values. Our core Canadian values are now divided, and there's very little common ground. Yes, of course. Thank you, newspaper. Try not to be so divisive next time. Very interesting. I'm looking forward to this evening when I will hopefully be reporting on the results of this by-election. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca. And if you're in Burnaby South, York, Simcoe, or Outermont, go vote. Thanks for watching.